How's it going? Knut here from Nitro Snowboards, and I'm gonna just run you through what you should do when you get your first snowboard, how to treat it right after you bring it back from the store to your house, and how you can maintain it by fixing and filing the edges and maintaining it by giving it a proper wax. So you just bought yourself a new snowboard, like this beautiful T1 right here. This is a trick that most people don't do. You're gonna wanna put your snowboard down on a flat surface, and then you're gonna get yourself a little pen here. And what you're looking for is where the board is in contact with the table. It's called the contact point. And you're gonna mark this with a Sharpie on the sidewall if you want to, so you know for when you file where that is. And there's 4 corners, right? So we're gonna hit all 4 of these all the way through. It's about there. And you do this so you know where you should sharpen and where you should unsharpen the edge. So if you just do this right away when you get your board, then you know you'll always have the same sharpness and sharpening routine. So the board hits there, that's the contact point. Marked with pen. Go over to the other side here. This is the contact point. And the contact point is where the light does not shine through, right? The board is resting on this surface. This is something you're gonna use later on. But first, you got your board. What you're gonna wanna do is lay it on a surface, like so. Lay it upside down. And what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna clean the base edge of the board, right? And to do that, you can use a multi-tuner like this, or you can use a more pro multi-tuner or tuning tool like this, and this is just your standard file. The most important thing that you're gonna do here, either using a multi-tuner or this, is you're gonna have the weight on the inside here with my finger here. This is where the weight is gonna be, not here, because then you're gonna be detuning your board. I wanna have the weight on the inside, and you just rub it up to that mark and down to the mark we made on the contact point. Up and down. And in between, if you wanna get super techie, you're gonna wanna brush off any kind of metal material residue that's left there, because this metal material is gonna be pushed into your base unless you brush it off. And then you clean your files. As you can see here, there is metal right there, and you're gonna wanna clean your file, get it out so you get a nice tune. So you can either use the pro version here or the multi-tuner here. Push it down, up and down, up and down. The most important thing is that you have the pressure on the inside of the base, not at an angle. So now that is, your edges are clear, both sides obviously. Up and down. All the way to the contact point marks that you made. Now you have a nice smooth, sorry, use the brush, and clean your file. A clean file is a smooth file, and then you're also not gonna get metal in your base and ruin your base. So now you have a nice top sheet, or nice base edge ready to go. And the next step is you are gonna have to clean the base, because after it's been made at the factory, they put a base, like Nitro, for example, we put wax on the base. You don't have to clean your base. But some boards, you're gonna wanna clean the base, and every time you do wax, in between waxing, you're gonna wanna clean the base. And how to do that is, first, you wipe down the base, clear off all that residue from the file that you used earlier, no more metal on the base. And then you're gonna take a sheet like this, and then you're gonna take wax remover, like this one, open it up. This is a fresh can, so I'm gonna have to pop the top. It's kind of a gangster move. And you take this, you pour a little right there on the sheet. You let it sink in. And to really clean the base, you can either rub it like so with your hand, or you can use this copper brush right here, drop it on top, and then you're just gonna wanna push it up and down throughout the whole base. What this is gonna do, it's gonna get any kind of dirt or residue out of the base, making it a clean base, right? All the way up and down, up and down. Just really get in there and clean it out. Then when you're done, take the brush off. You can see there is a little residue dirt in there. So when you wax, you want to clean the base first so you don't get all this dirt in the wax. The key to having a fast, clean base is to have a homogenic, unified wax structure throughout the whole thing where it hangs together. It's one unit and there's not just a bunch of dirt in there. So now I've cleaned the base, and then what I like to do is I take a new towel, rub it down, get all that wax cleaner off of there. So then, get it nice and clean, nice and clean, nice and clean. Here we go, nice and clean. The next step is you're gonna wanna put wax on the board. Or if you wanna get super technical, you can use, this is a base, this is an edge deburrer. You can use this and just polish the edges real quick. Nice and quick, get them nice and smooth, get all the burrs out. Right, all the burrs out. And the most important thing is not to have it at an angle. Keep it nice and flat. So once you have your bases clean, your edges are clean, the next step is to protect your bindings. This is something nobody really does. When you're pouring wax all over the top sheet here, it has a tendency to run off over the edge. And if that wax gets over the edge into your binding, it can actually get stuck underneath your binding and ruin your binding. So just take some tape like this. You can take the Katahar tape that we have here, or you can just use a regular kind of tape as well, but something that can handle a little heat to protect your bindings so they last longer and you don't ruin them while waxing. Just put them here right on either on the binding or just right on the edge here. So that's gonna protect your binding on the heel side, and you're also gonna put some on the toe side here. Boom. This is keeping your bindings protected from the wax that might potentially drip down over underneath the binding and cause damage to your bindings. For me, this is something I just learned recently. Thought it was kind of a cool idea because, I never thought about the wax going off the board underneath the binding and ruining the binding, but that is actually a thing that can happen. So might as well protect it if you can. If you don't have this, it's totally okay just to be super careful. But this just makes it so you don't have to think about this. Now, you have your waxing iron right here. I have my wax. And there's a lot of different types of waxes, obviously. But right now I'm using an organic flash wax, which is good from -15 to 0 Celsius. And there's two techniques to waxing. You can either use the drip technique, where you push it in and the wax drips down. That's usually what you use on skis, but on a snowboard you have a bigger surface area, so it's it's more efficient and you're not gonna waste as much wax and get more wax in if you use a rubbing technique. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take the wax, heat it up there, scrape, rub it in. Put it there, rub it in. Put it on, rub it in. Heat up the wax, rub it in. Heat up the wax, rub it in. This is gonna help you get the wax over an equal surface of the board. You're not gonna have these big puddles of wax. You're just gonna have a nice surface. This actually just makes the whole waxing process go faster. Rub it in, rub it in, rub it in, rub it in. So now we have applied an even surface of wax all over the board. And what we're gonna wanna do is take the waxing iron. You never push down on the iron, because if you push down too hard, it pushes the wax out to the side, so then there's no purpose of waxing because you're just pushing wax around. You're just going to have a nice, even pressure where it just glides over the wax. And one tip is to glide over the same area at least 4 times forward and back. The waxing process isn't a fast process. You have to think of it as you're massaging your board to get the best result. And once the wax has a nice mirror surface or image, that's when you know you have massaged the wax in to the board good enough. You don't have to go too fast. The faster you go doesn't mean it's gonna go faster. So just take it nice and easy. Enjoy this moment in your life. Think of it maybe as a little yoga session for yourself. Where you're just in the moment, thinking about you just got this brand new $570,000 snowboard and you're just heating it up and putting wax all over it. just enjoying the moment. Snowboarding's all about living in the moment when you're snowboarding, and it's also about living in the moment when you're waxing this bad boy. In the meantime, listen to this elevator music. Okay, here we go. See this? Forward and back. You want to cover every area. See a nice mirrored look to it. And if you see some spots, like this spot here where I'm not really getting any wax, it's totally okay to take the iron and just fill it in with new wax. There's no point in massaging it perfectly. You got the cheat sheet right here. Might as well cheat your way to the perfect finish. Oh, this little spot right here. Rub it in. And back and forth. And back and forth. All the way to the nice, mirrored, even coverage all over the base. I personally like to take the wax and push it out over the contact point. I don't know, some people don't do that. I like to do it because might as well give the board a little bit of love, because I think from riding powder and the snow's hitting here, I want it to like move fast. I don't want it to be a dead spot. All right, so now I've gone over the base. For the sake of the video, I'm not gonna do it as long as I normally would do it, because normally I'd probably spend another 5 minutes going back and forth. But if I keep rubbing this board like this, YouTube might put some kind of restriction on this video. So for the sake of the video, we're done ironing on the wax. Now the trick is either you can do a thing called a hot wax, which is you put it on, and while the wax is still hot, you can scrape off that hot wax. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna help clean the base as well, because when the wax is hot, it's sucking out all the molecules and dirt from the base itself. So that is an option. You scrape it. It's called a hot wax to clean the base, and then you can do another wax like this. Right now, we're just gonna wait until this kind of cools down to not where it's cold, but you want it to be not hot to the touch, but warm to the touch. So in the meantime, I'm gonna go find a bucket where I can put this wax into. So this is something I forgot to say earlier, so I'm inserting this right now. This is just kind of a health tip. When you're waxing your board, when you're done waxing, it's important to finish up, take the iron, put it in a safe spot, unplug the iron, saves energy and is also safer. As you can see, it's steaming right now. The trick tip is to take a cloth and wipe off, be careful because it's hot, right? And wipe off all that remaining wax on the bottom of your iron. That's gonna help reduce all the vapors getting into the air and make it a safer environment for you. And it's also gonna keep your iron cleaner so it lasts longer. But remember, this is a hot iron, so be careful. Don't put your hand on there. You're not 5 years old, okay? Don't do that. Be gentle. But it's important to clean your iron, to keep it clean, keep it safe, less vapors. Now, I'm still waiting for this to cool down, right? It's still too hot, and I still have not found my bucket, so I'm gonna go get that bucket again. Okay, so after about 45 minutes of searching my whole house, this is my house actually, I live in a theater. I found a garbage can. Paper, cardboard, it's better for the environment. Now, so my base is now warm to the touch. It's not hot, it's not cold, it's the perfect temperature to start scraping. There's two types of scrapers. You have a smaller one or the big snowboard one. The big snowboard one is good, it's a little easier because you get the even length. Personally, I like to use both. Do this one first, and then I end with this one because you can be a little more precise with this one because you want to scrape all that wax out of there. One thing I like to do is, right then I just scrape from the tail forward. I like to personally scrape from the nose to the tail. So it doesn't really matter, but in my mind, I feel like I'm gonna go faster if I scrape off in that direction. Honestly, it doesn't matter because later when you're brushing it down, you're giving it structure. But so you're just gonna scrape all the way down. And as you can see, this snowboard scraper, it takes off wax, but it doesn't really get too much, but you get the top sheet off. So that's why I like to use the smaller one. You can apply way more pressure with this one. So you can see right here, you can really get in there, get the wax out like so, right? So just scrape, scrape, scrape. And then a tip is to start, like I said, from the nose to the tail, to really scrape all that wax out of there. Scrape. You don't want any big wax chunks up top because those are gonna start peeling off and then you're gonna get slow dead spots in your board. Scrape all the way. Just really get in there, scrape. Remember to have an even pressure on the edge here. You don't want to be up on the edge here because that's going to damage your base. Nice even pressure all the way across. All the way across. All the way down. So you can see less and less wax is coming off now. You get in there. There's not a super easy task. It's a fun one. Little mini workout. Something to take pride in. Okay. So now I've got most of the wax off. Then. So now I have most of the wax off. Give it 2 more. Scrape off all the wax. You can really bend these with your thumb like so to get, or your fingers like this, to get into those deep, the binding areas here. It's really important to get the binding inserts. Get all that wax out of there. It's nice to use like that. So then you're done scraping. There's also a thing called edge scraper sharpeners, but you can just use a metal. You can either use a metal piece of straight metal or another file and just clean off all that existing old wax to keep your scrapers nice and sharp. A sharp scraper is a tuner's best friend because it's just easier to work with. Once it goes round, it's super hard to get the wax off. So the next step is you're gonna start brushing it. This is a copper brush. Copper brushes are good because it really digs in there and gets all that existing wax that's on top. It kind of, as you can see, it starts pulling it out of the structure, pulls the wax out of the structure of the base. But you're not gonna wanna push too hard where you ruin the base, but a nice even pressure. Nice even pressure, and you can go any direction. What you're doing right now is you're working the wax into the base. Working that warm wax into the base, any direction. As you can see here, there's nice little wax pellets here, and that's the stuff you're working into the base. Work it in all the way over the base. Nice even pressure. You're really treating your base right now. Nice. Oh, back and forth, work it in. Middle. It's important to get the whole surface area. You don't want any dead spots. So now I've worked the wax all the way into the base. All the way in. So now I got the wax on the copper, as you can see, it's in there. It's nice to keep this. What I like to do is I clean it like so, get that wax out of there. I'm done with my copper. Now I'm moving on to the horse brush, which is just a softer brush material to polish off that wax or rub it in a little bit more. And with this one, it's important to go in a direction. Copper brush, you can go back and forth, doesn't matter. Back and forth, you're just moving it into the base. The horse feather, or the horsehair brush, this is where you really fine tune it. So here you're gonna wanna go from the nose to the tail, the direction you're riding in. Nice long brushes from tip to tail. Nice long brushes from tip to tail. And you can also just do little sections like this if it's easier for you, all the way down. Nice long brushes from tip to tail. All the way down, all the way down. And now you really start to see that the base starts to kind of shine. It's appreciating the wax you've just given it. Structure's coming in, and you can just get in there. And when I was more active into contests, we would never try to touch the base because we always thought that would like ruin your whole waxing thing, but it really doesn't matter. Just nice all the way down. Long finishes all the way down. So now we have our base, a nice thin layer in the structure of the base. Either it's a brand new board that you bought or it's a board you're always using. You've given it a nice wax job from cleaning it to filling it in with new wax, brushing it down, making a nice thin layer of wax. And what's important with making a nice thin layer while you use these brushes is that the wax layer is it's like one organism on top of the structure of the board. And this organism is gonna be stronger when it's together. Once you get little flakes somewhere, it starts to split and then the wax doesn't last as long. This type of waxing lasts longer than any other kind of waxing. If you do the whole procedure, it's gonna be a wax that really goes into the base and it's gonna last a long time. To finish it off, I like to use a polishing rag. You can either use an individual rag or a reusable rag. Polish it, you just polish it just like you're polishing your car. Polish the board, get that wax in there. And after you're done polishing the wax, you're gonna have one fast snowboard that's ready to rip. So that's it. That's what you do for your board if you want to wax it on a daily wax routine, or if it's your first time getting into snowboarding and you want to fine tune it because you're all excited about it and you want it to ride super smooth. That's how you wax.